Hey everybody, it's Don. I'm joining you today on January 20th, 2024 from the snowy Hocking Hills. It's getting all over my face. I came to a part of the Hocking Hills in Hocking Hills State Park, which is embedded within Hocking Hills State Forest, to try to look at the iced over waterfalls that start to accumulate this time of year in January. We're in a region with a lot of sandstone caves, and I'll visit maybe one or two sites today just to see how those ice falls are developing. All right, so let's go. Hi folks, I'm here to take a walk at Ash Cave in the Hocking Hills State Park. This is the entrance to the trail to Ash Cave, and as you can see from the signage, and we're going to be walking to see some really impressive cliffs, a major recess cave, and although here it warns us against the ice, we're actually coming to see the ice, to see how things are developing in that regard. So here's some trail signage. We'll do a quick walk up to the cave and back. It's a very easy walk. One of the most easily accessible sites in the Hocking Hills. And one of my favorites. It's really impressive. And here's the start of the trail to Ash Cave. All right, catch you up the trail. I'm on the trail to one of my favorite Hocking Hills destinations. Of course, the Hocking Hills are known for their sandstones, their carved gorges, caves, rock shelters, and so forth. And one of my favorites amongst the many you can visit here is Ash Cave. So we're going to take a little walk up to Ash Cave, and I'm here on the trail to that spot. Just taking a look at a little bit of the gorge walls that surround you on the way to Ash Cave. And right at the moment, there are icicles extending from the top of that gorge of about probably 15 feet long at this point, maybe even longer in spots. Okay, so the gorge walls here are about 50 feet tall or more. And it's really fun this time of year to see all the water that comes through and over these rocks when it freezes. It's just fantastic to take a look at it this time of year. So we're going to take a look at some of the highlights here on the way to Ash Cave. If I'm able to get to another site, I'll do that as well. But this is one of my favorites, and I just thought I'd share that with you in a winter view of Ash Cave. The sandstones in front of you there are part of that Black Hand sandstone that I defined for you at Clear Creek Metro Park. Sandstones of about 350 million years old. Okay, and they're named for Black Hand Gorge, where some Native American artifacts and artwork was found on a cliff wall, and a black hand on the sandstone. And that gave rise to the name for these sandstones as Black Hand sandstones. So all throughout the Hocking Hills area, these Black Hand sandstones have been carved by small streams, by water. We have to thank water for all these beautiful sites in the Hocking Hills, because it's carved gorges and caves and eroded rock shelters out of this sandstone over the millennia. And we have water to thank for everything we come to see and like about this place. Here's a cool spot just prior to the entrance to Ash Cave, which is a recess cave or a rock shelter, where there's a really huge ice fall forming over the rock. There are icicles there of almost 20 feet long at this point. I see mountain laurels clinging to the cliff up there. And of course, there's a lot of hemlocks around here. This area is known for their eastern hemlocks. And there's a really big one over here, and maybe we'll get a measurement on it. This is just a neat little waterfall that's freezing over. There are times where these icicles will reach the ground, essentially. All right, so they're really impressive. I like coming this time of year too, because it's not as busy, frankly. Anybody who's come to the Hocking Hills knows how busy it can be, especially when the weather's nice all year long, really. And I'm here kind of late-ish on a Friday afternoon, and there are a few people around, but it's I have a lot of privacy today, which is nice. Okay, I'm going to make my approach to Ash Cave in front of me. Ash Cave gets its name because of historical, apparently an ash pile that was detected in this cave that, led early, colonists to realize that people occupied these areas and lived in here at some point, and, built fires and what have you. And so Ash Cave was named after ashes that were detected in this rock shelter. So what you see above me is a rock shelter. It's not a true cave. There's no entrance and, tunnels that you crawl through. It's the rock is nearly over my head right now. Okay. And then it recesses back probably, 100 feet or more, probably more, from where it extends at the top. Okay, where the lower layers that are softer, that have eroded with time because of water and wind and what have you, have receded back. Okay, and so it's a really large rock shelter. And as you can see, it's snowing out here, but in just a few feet, I'll be in that shelter. You can see where the snow quits. Okay, and this substrate is more or less just ground up sandstone. It's ground up blackhand sandstone. And it's really interesting. It's like a beach, really. It's very much like a beach. I am suddenly by myself here, which is really awesome. Once you get in here, everything changes. The sound changes. The sound is muffled. Everything's quieter in this cave. And this is the kind of cave where sound will bounce along the walls of the cave so that you can speak fairly quietly on this end and you can hear it, over there 500 feet away. Okay, so this is a quite large, expansive cave. It's the largest shelter like this in the Hocking Hills region. I love it. I just think this is really dramatic. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and we had nothing like this, at least in Western Pennsylvania where I lived. So this is just fantastic. There's some snow that's blown over from on top of the cliff. It's really cool. Okay, but it's just a towering cave. People who've not been to this part of Ohio or Ohio in general would have no idea that Ohio has this kind of stuff. I didn't, certainly, until I lived here. So I'm just going to walk through here. Again, one of the things that happens with time, it hasn't been a very cold year. It's just gotten cold recently. So this small stream that comes over the top of the shelter will freeze. And at the moment, the bottom part, kind of like an ice cone, is starting to form. And then, of course, there are icicles near the top. But that will essentially join with time in a cold enough winter. So you have kind of a continuous frozen column of ice from the top of the cliff to the stream bottom, which is really impressive if you get to see it. So let's go take a little closer look at that. Yeah, the water's still flowing, but it is freezing upon contact down here. And it's going to be another very cold weekend. So I would expect that this is just going to further develop over the next several days. Although it may warm up next week and sort of ruin it all, but nonetheless. Now this stream forms a small pool here normally, but this is the size of the stream that's carved this whole interesting geological formation. Doesn't take much, just takes time, a lot of time. So there's the ice cone. All right. And that's probably about, well, that's probably close to 100 feet tall, 80 feet tall. Okay, so I'll just continue my journey around. This under the shelter, it's completely dry. It's not like the water really gets through this rock much. It does in places. You'll see some ice ahead of me, some icicles ahead of me. But here's just another view now from directly under the falls. Really cool. So there's some old stone steps. Of course, there's been newer additions here. There's a nice wooden staircase. You used to crawl over, you know, some concrete walkways and things, and steps carved into the rock. And that still exists. That kind of construction still exists throughout the various Hocking Hills sites. This one's been improved a little bit, though. Here's some remnants where there were stairs carved right into the rock. But you can see some of these were kind of precarious, probably a little bit unsafe, maybe a lot unsafe, depending on who's doing the walking. So I've crawled upward a little bit now, and let's look back down toward the cave. There's a few people down there, as you can see. There's the falls and the recess cavern. All right. Hemlocks covered in snow. One of my favorite scenes. Here's some giant icicles that are hanging through. These are the kind of icicles, and there's where they drip down. These are the kind of icicles that, you know, if you were standing under it and happened to be there at the wrong time, you get killed by one of those things. Okay, they're huge and heavy and sharp, and that's happened for sure. I don't know if it's happened here, but, you know, there's stories about people being killed by falling icicles, not only from natural caves and things, but off of buildings. So that's one of those things in nature you do have to watch out for. Another view. It's getting a little brighter. It's a pretty gray day today, but it's brightening up. There's a little bit of sun up there. Here's a really nice hemlock in front of me. Eastern hemlock, Tsuga canadensis. Talked about these in both Clear Creek Metro Park and Clifton Gorge. This is a nice one. It's very tall. You often find tall trees that growing from the gorge floor to the sky because they have to. They have to be tall to find light. So you find some of your tallest trees in nature in deep gorges where trees have had to grow straight and tall to find the light. So that's a big old tall hemlock. Rather than get the tape out, I'm probably just going to estimate that's pretty close to 3 feet in diameter. So we cored one about that size in Clifton Gorge, a student and I, and it was 232 years old. So that tree is in that ballpark. That's about a 250-year-old hemlock, probably right there. Okay, so that's pretty impressive. And there are a number of that size here. There's another one a little bit in the distance there. There was one over here as well of about that size that was dead as well. Which brings me to the point that in this area, the invasive hemlock woolly adelgid exists. So that's a non-native insect that wreaks havoc on hemlocks and has done that throughout the Appalachians, particularly the southern Appalachians, like in North Carolina. And it has been detected in this area in Ohio. There are treatments for it for individual trees. They're treatments not for an entire forest, but for prized individual trees, there are pesticide treatments that can be done. Very similar to the way you treat trees for emerald ash borer. The insect itself is a sap-sucking insect, and you've got to get the pesticide inside the tree for them to contact it, really. And so those are called systemic pesticides. And that's the kind that you use against sap suckers or wood borers and things. So that's been done throughout the Hocking Hills in various places, not everywhere. This weather, however, is a good combatant against that insect. It's not real tolerant of very cold temperatures. That will knock it back. So there have been areas where that insect has spread and infested trees, but a couple of hard winters can really knock them back, giving the trees time to kind of regrow, recoup. But the insect will often come back in good times. And in general, for insects that like warmer weather, good times are more frequent, okay? Because it's getting warmer out here in general. You wouldn't know that today, but the averages tell us so. Okay, now I'm kind of at the top. Let's go walk briefly on top of Ash Cave. Here's some typical trail signage in the Hocking Hills all throughout the area. There are most of these major sites are interconnected by trails. One's called Old Man's Cave and Cedar Falls and Ash Cave. You can all reach in pretty easy day hikes. Some are more distant, but I'll more than likely visit a number of these through time. But again, this was my destination for today. And now we're on top of the Ash Cave and halfway up the trees that start down at the bottom. So we can kind of get what you'd call a canopy view of the canopy of these trees. Nice big old 250-year-old hemlock. There's a whole lot that goes on up in tree canopies that it can be hard to study unless you get up there. And there are lots of ways to do that. You can climb. You can be suspended and land up there from a helicopter. Okay, but climbing obviously is more frequently done. But because of the relative inaccessibility of the top of most trees, canopy biology still, canopy insects, for example. There's still things yet to be discovered, what's going on up there, and really how things interact up in the tops of tree canopies. So there's a little cable fence here. I'm just a few feet from the top of Ash Cave there. There are falls, people falls, throughout this region every year. You got to be very careful when you hike here at any time of the year, but obviously especially in the winter when it's more slippery, icy and snowy and all that stuff. Back in Pennsylvania, we would say it's slippy out here. So you got to be careful. Things do happen every year, and are unfortunate. But I'm not going to go too much farther on this trail right now, but just to show you the size of the stream, all it takes to carve this tremendous rock feature is this little stream right here. Okay? That's the stream that cascades over the cave, Ash Cave, and form the gorge below that you see. Just that and time. Okay? All right, so I'm gonna break there and see where else we may go. There's some new signage here at Ash Cave to indicate that this is one of many New Deal era sites that were developed and improved during FDR's famous work programs with the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, for example. A lot of work was done in rural areas to provide, as it says here, relief, recovery, and reform to people during and after the Great Depression. And a lot of the work was done in state forests and state parks in places like Pennsylvania and Ohio, where I'm most familiar, to build bridges, build cabins, develop trails, what have you, campgrounds. And this kind of construction, next to me here is a pavilion that was undoubtedly built during that era, okay, showing the really typical construction that you see in these buildings that were done at that time. You might call it kind of Lincoln log construction. This is probably mostly pine wood, that's been, it's mortar and with stone. Again, undoubtedly blackhand sandstone floor, with a fireplace at one end, okay? So this is a pavilion or picnic area. There's another fireplace at the other end. These are picnic tables, of course, that don't go back that far, but very, very typical kind of construction that you see throughout Pennsylvania and Ohio that was done by the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps. There's one neat thing I'm seeing in here, by the way, I might as well point it out, and that are these mud nests right here of a wasp called a mud dauber. So you can see that there are individual cells in that mud nest. That's kind of a mud mortar that the wasp makes, okay? Collects dirt and saliva and water, kind of makes a cement, builds these mud cells where it eventually will lay eggs, and the young will hatch and feed within those cells and then break out and emerge as adults. And then one cool thing about mud daubers, especially certain species, but mud daubers in general, is one of the things they stuff into those cells for their young to eat when they hatch are spiders. So they lay their eggs in there and then they stock the cells with spiders for the young to eat when they emerge. That's pretty gruesome and pretty awesome if you ask me. All right, so mud daubers. You see these pasted on the sides of houses a lot. There's a number of them all throughout here. And, there are other kinds, some that just look like someone threw a big mud ball at your house that stuck to the house. That's another kind of mud dauber. But in any case, very cool, very morbid. Feeding your young spiders. The ultimate Halloween wasp. My second stop today will be at a site just about 2 miles away from Ash Cave called Cedar Falls. All right, so we're just starting down the trail off of the parking area, which is being basically redone. Okay, they're making parking improvements here. But it's just a short trail from this lot to get to Cedar Falls. Now the stream that forms Cedar Falls is much larger, much more substantial than the stream I showed you at Ash Cave. And I see a lot of ice down here. This is a little bit more of a colder, shaded, not as deep gorge right here. That's just with a lot of ice. It's really cool. I can see it out in front of me. Even as I peer through the trees right there, if you can see that well enough. But we'll get up close to some of that kind of stuff as we go. So here, the stream, that forms that ice is just flowing, under the rocks more or less below me here. Again, we're back into the same sandstone formations, carved through the time with wind and water and all that freezing and thawing and all those sorts of things. And we'll see how it goes. There are a couple of cars in the parking lot here. I think I'll just keep the camera running as I approach Cedar Falls. It's kind of dark and spooky. It's toward the end of the day. It's not that late, but down here it seems late, shady. Thought this was interesting. The stairs in front of me here are kind of a natural art installation created by an artist named Akio Hizumi in 1997. And I'm about to walk on these stairs, and they were designed in a way, without reading that whole sign, to force you to alternate which foot you put up the step. So you're not doing it left, for example, every time, or right every time. You step, and then you take a couple of paces, and you step with the other foot. So I'm going to sort of show you that and demonstrate it, but it's been given the name the democracy steps, I guess, to make things fair for both of your feet. As apparently one might get lonely or feel bad for not being the one to take the step each time. So here's what they look like. And you can see here's a relatively short distance, followed by a longer distance. Okay, and then here's a long distance, followed by a shorter, longer, shorter. And apparently that was designed using a Fibonacci sequence. And so I see how it does force you, because of your stride. Someone like me, I'm tall, I can just take it as normal, basically. But a more average person has to alternate which foot goes first up the steps. Here's a spot. Okay, left and then right. Okay, and then right. Then right, then left. Right, left, then right, then left. Pretty cool. I never even thought about this before. All right. So there we go. I just did the democracy steps. This trail will take you, if you follow the stream, basically, you will eventually get to some trail intersections that will take you to Old Man's Cave. Now, Old Man's Cave is the main, you could say it's the main feature at Hocking Hills State Park. I'm not going to go there today. I will go there again in another day. It's extremely busy. Actually, today would have been a good day to go there, but I chose these two locations for the moment. So there's a cool little trail sneaking through the rocks. See what we can scare up down here. This would be bobcat territory, fox territory, all those sorts of things. Along the streams, you get minks, weasels. Those are tough to see sometimes. Of all those things, the things I've seen in nature, probably the most are mink. They seem to be the bravest around people. And they tend to frequent along streams. You can often find them just bounding along streams, looking for food, fishing, shellfish, crayfish, any number of things that they'll eat. Okay, at this point, the trail in front of you would follow the stream valley down, eventually intersect with the trail that would take you to Old Man's Cave. So here we're going to go to the right and go to Cedar Falls. Actually, I'll take that back. I have to go down to the stream and turn right. Now, there's a few people down here, so I may cease my direct narration a little bit, but we'll get a great view of Cedar Falls in the winter when it looks beautiful. Yeah, because it has both still flowing water and ice. Here we go. Okay. And there's looks like a family enjoying Cedar Falls as well. This is a really very popularly photographed. All these places are popularly photographed. Okay, so this is the old historic signage. This stream here is called Queer Creek. Okay, and it's the largest stream in the Hocking Hills area, carving gorges. Okay, and this is considered to be the largest waterfall in the Hocking Hills in terms of volume and all that. There are taller waterfalls, but you know, this has long been a visitors, you know, place people came to visit and picnic and hang out and hike. There are trails that will bring you in from above the falls. I came in from, you know, in that direction. All right, but it doesn't matter. Still get to the same place. So we'll get a little bit closer here. I don't want to interrupt these family activities. This is all water, by the way. This is basically a pond. At this point, I'm going to assume it's well frozen. There's been a lot of people that have walked on it, so I assume it's completely frozen. So there we go. This is ice. It's all ice below me there. Okay. Let's go take a look. Here's some little broken ice. Is the ice going to hold me? If it held all of you, it'll hold me.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that's awesome.
We just saw the footprints. We're like, okay, there's a lot of footprints.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of it.
Sure. Yeah, very cool. It's always cool to see these when they're iced up like that. Yeah, yeah.
Wild.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Pretty well. How you doing?
Good. All right, so there's Cedar Falls. You normally can't get up close to it like this, not during the summertime. You're not supposed to wade out in these pools and so forth for safety reasons and all kinds of things. That's really cool. I've never been up close to Cedar Falls like this. You can only do it in winter. Check this out. It's really awesome. It's going to get really cold this weekend as well, so this is just going to get even more dramatic. It's actually really cool when it's both the flowing water and the ice is there present at the same time. So you can see it pulsing under the ice up there. I think this waterfall is about 30 some feet tall, maybe 40. Not sure. Here we are. Power of water. It is interesting to me, though, how the power of water can be arrested by cold temperatures and stop it in its tracks and freeze it. I think it's pretty awesome. Let's go around behind the waterfall, as long as I don't fall. Okay, there's still some liquid water flowing through back here and freezing on contact. It's a little tougher to walk around back here, but check that out. I did not expect to be able to do this today. That's really cool. And this is all the frozen pond back here. I can see that the ice is several inches thick. Here it's clearer, so I'm not really worried about falling, especially if the whole family was here. I think, although I'm a big guy, I think they outweighed me as a group. So just one last look at Cedar Falls up close. And we'll wade back across the pond, walking on water. Who says you can't walk on water? Oh, I hear some cracking. Better get back there. There's our view. And that'll conclude my visit to Ash Cave and Cedar Falls in the Hocking Hills State Park. So if you have the chance to come here any time of the year. Expect it to be busy when it's warm, and the winter is a great place to come because it's less busy and you get to see stuff like that, which you can't see in any other time. Okay, take care. See you again.